Greetings to you all and welcome to the Christian Religious Education Learning session. We are going to begin on a new topic, which is creation and the fall of humankind. Creation and the fall of humankind. Learners, human beings have grappled with the question of the origin of things, the origin of humankind. Where did man come from is a question that keeps disturbing people. How did the world begin? What is the origin of all that we see is a question that we seek to answer in our today's session. The creation and the fall of humankind. And candidates, creation or to create is to make something happen or exist. So therefore, creation is the process of making something that is new or causing something that did not exist before to come into existence. I repeat, creation is the process of making something that is new or causing something that did not exist before to come into existence. We are talking about creation of humankind. So how did God create humankind? The Bible teaches that it is God who created both the heavens and the earth through divine creative works. Divine creative works. And in the Bible, candidates, creation refers to how God brought the universe and everything in it into existence. In this session and in the next session, we're going to study two accounts, two biblical accounts, two records, two creation accounts. The first account is found in, this is the first biblical account about creation is to be found in the book of Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 verses 1 to 4, then the first sentence of verse 4. The second biblical account of creation is to be found in Genesis chapter 2 verse 4b to verse 25. 4a refers to the first sentence, b the second sentence of verse 4. This verse 4 has two sentences. So the first biblical creation, we read it in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 verses 1 up to 4a. The second biblical account in regard to creation is from Genesis chapter 2 verse 4b to verse 25. Creation. And I've defined creation. I've said to create is to make something that is new or to cause something that did not exist before to come into existence. We are to discuss about creation of humankind. But I've said that it is God who created both the heavens and the earth and everything that is within the universe. God brought the universe into existence, including everything that is in it. And the things that are in the universe include humankind, the people, human beings. So in this session and in the proceeding sessions under the chapter Creation and the Fall of Humankind, we're going to study biblical stories of creation and their meaning. The first story we are going to read in Genesis 1 and 2. The second story, we read it in Genesis 2 to 4 up to verse number 25. So make sure, candidates or learners, you read the two accounts before proceeding. I want you to turn to the book of Genesis, study this account so that when we are discussing here in class, you at least have a clue of the biblical stories or the biblical record of the creation and the meaning of humankind. So learners, let us study the first creation account. The first creation account. The first creation account. The first creation account. And I've said this account, we can read it from Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, 1 to 4a. So I want you to stop this video, go to your Bible and read Genesis chapter 1, the whole of it. Then read Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 up to verse 4. Then you can come back and proceed with the lesson. I hope, learners, you have done that. You've read Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, verse 1 up to verse 4. Now, if you read these verses, you must have realized that this account describes how God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. And we also read that in the beginning, before the universe was created, the earth was formless. Before the universe was created, the earth was formless. Before the universe was created, the earth was formless. The earth was void and chaotic. Void and chaotic. Before what? Before the universe was created, the earth was formless, void, and chaotic. And learners, bringing order into the universe was the starting point of God's creative work. Bringing order, because we read that the earth was formless, void, and chaotic. So the first step, the first thing God did was to bring order in the creative work. So God described as a spirit, is described as a spirit who moved over the waters. It's described as a spirit who moved over the waters. All right? God is described as a spirit who moved over the waters. Let me read it for you. Genesis 1, chapter 1. I read, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. And the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. All right? God is described as a spirit who moved over the water. So we read in verse 3 that God said, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. What does that tell you? That tells you that God created out of nothing except for his word. Out of nothing. Because candidates, if you are to bring into existence, say, this book, you may need raw material, paper, to have this book into existence. If you want to bring into existence this pen, there is certain raw materials that are needed. Okay? If you are to manufacture this coat, you need cotton, you need the buttons, you need thread and all that. That is not the case with God when he created the world. God used his word. He said, let there be light, and there was light. He created out of nothing, what we call ex nihilo. He created out of nothing. He created, God created out of nothing. Ex nihilo, meaning out of nothing. Ex nihilo. Except for his word. He didn't use the physical raw materials to create things. No, he used his word. So when you read this account, that's what comes out. He used his word to do what? To create. Another thing that comes out clearly out of this account is that God was very systematic. He created everything in a systematic manner. The account is presented in a systematic manner. Okay? The creation was done in a systematic manner. Because you say that God created the world in 6 days. There is what God created in day 1. He created certain things in day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. He followed a systematic fashion in creating the world. Each day he created something different. Okay? He created different things. Different things were created differently, were created on different days. Different things, different days. So we are going to give an account of what God created in each day based on the account in Genesis chapter 1. First day. We said systematic manner. So in the first day, what did God create day 1? What did God create day 1? We read that in verse 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So in day 1, God created light. God did what? God created light. God created light. Let there be light, and there was light, and God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God then separated light from darkness. God created light and separated light from darkness. God created light on day 1 and he separated the light from darkness on that day. Separated the light from the darkness. So you can see, candidates, we read further that God called the light day and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning one day. And there was evening and there was morning, comma, one day. First day. He created light and separated it from darkness. Day 1. Now, candidates, are you understanding the creation? God, first of all, created light on the first day. He named the light day and the night. All right? The light, we say God called the light day. He called the light day. All right? He called the light day and he called the darkness night. The darkness he called night. And the darkness he called night. That is day 1. If you are asked, what did God create on day 1? You say God created light on day 1 and separated light from darkness. Then he called the light day and then he called the night, the darkness night. That's day 1. Coming to second day. Second day. Candidates, in verse 6 I read, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. I repeat, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. Let it separate the waters from the waters. Let it do what? Separate the waters from the waters. Because in verse in verse 2 we read that the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of the Lord was moving over the face of the water. So the earth was filled with waters. In verse 6, God is saying, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. Let it separate the waters from the waters. So that is on day 2. God created a firmament to separate the waters. That's what happened in day 2. God created the firmament. God did what? God made the firmament. God made the firmament. God made the firmament in day 2 to separate the waters above from the waters below. And God made, and God called the firmament heaven. We read, and separate the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. He created the firmament, and this firmament separated the waters that were above the firmament and below the firmament. So in day 2, God created the firmament. God made or created. God made or created the firmament. And what is the purpose of the firmament here? The purpose of the firmament is to separate the waters above from the waters below. And he called the firmament heaven. That is sometimes referred to the skies. Okay? We read, and God called the firmament heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. So do you follow? Are you following, candidates? On second day, God created the firmament and separated the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And God called the firmament heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning. And called the firmament heaven, which we sometimes refer to as the sky. The sky, sometimes referred to as the sky. That is Genesis 1, 6 to 8. On day 3, third day, what did God create on the third day? Let's read on. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And so it was. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Okay, that is day 3. And God said, let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruits bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind upon the earth. And so it was. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. So the third day, God created the waters below in one place. 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 God did what? Created the waters below in one place and separated the water from dry land. And separated the water from dry land. And separated the water from dry land. He separated the water from, God called the dry land earth. Okay? He called the dry land earth. He called the dry land earth. He called the dry land earth. So in other words, candidates, in day 2, God created the heavens. The heaven, that's the skies. Then he created the earth on the third day. He created the earth on the third day. So the dry land, he referred to it as earth. And then he also gathered waters, the seas, what we call the seas or the waters. He called seas. Okay, God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And the waters that were gathered together and the water that was gathered together he called seas. He called seas. The waters that were gathered together on the dry land, he called seas. All right? He called what? Seas. That is day 3. In day 4, that is 4th day, what did God create on the 4th day? What did God create on the 4th day? Now, let's read on. That is verse, that's 30. Then verse 14, verse 14, candidates. Before verse 14, let's read on from seas. And God saw that it was good, and God said, let the earth put forth vegetation. Let the earth, let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind, upon the earth. And it was so. And it was so. So, candidates, we can see here that God, after creating the earth, he did what we may call decoration. He decorated the earth by commanding the growth of all types of vegetation. The plants that yield seeds and trees that produce fruit. So that is before day 4. So we can say in day 3, God also created vegetation. Before moving on to day 4, I've just read that God put forth vegetation, all types of vegetation. He put forth all types of vegetation. He put forth all types of vegetation. God put forth all types of vegetation. All types of vegetation. That is day 3. Day 3. Then the 4th day, it was important for me to include the vegetation in day 3 because vegetation is very important. This is where we get our food. This is where we get our clothes. This is where we get our housing and so on. Vegetation. It is important for God to create vegetation. Now, let's move on. And there was evening, and there was day, a 3rd day. Verse 14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the 2 stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, a 4th day. So God decorated the firmament with lights. The same way we decorate our houses or our streets. When you build a street or when you build a house like this one, you decorate it with lights so that you have a house that has lights, okay? A house that is decorated, lighting. So, because God is almighty, he decorated the whole earth. And he did it once. Unlike us, who do it most of the time. When you decorate a house, you find there are times there is blackout and all that. God decorated the firmament with lights that separate day from the night. So God decorated the firmament. On day 4, God decorated the firmament, which he said is just the sky, okay, heavens or sky with lights. He decorated the firmament with what? With lights that separated day from the night, that separate day from night. Because of this lighting, we are able to tell the day, we are able to tell the night. So the greater light, which is the sun, was to shine during the day, and the lesser light, which is the moon and the stars, were to shine during the night. The greater light, that is the sun, was to shine or to light during the day, and the lesser light, that is the moon and the stars, were to shine during the night. To shine during the night. So in the 4th day, God decorated the firmament with lights, and these lights are the sun, the moon, and the stars. The sun, the moon, and the stars. So candidates, these lights were also to keep track of time and seasons, to keep track of days and years. That is Genesis 1, verse 14. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." Do you see that? They were to keep track of time. They were to help keep track of seasons, and also for days and years. And let them be lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the 2 great lights, the greater lights to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give the light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a 4th day. That's day 4. Let's move on. Day 5 to page 3. This is the 5th day.